Okay, so this first section, we skip 6.1 and 6.2 in chapter 6 for us, okay, is geometric sequence and series. We have already talked about geometric sequence in Algebra 1 before, okay? So the geometric sequence term is this equation right here. It's a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1 power. As a reminder, a sub 1 is the first term of the sequence, remember, as a list. R is the common ratio. You find it by taking the second term or the one and dividing after that. So second term divided by first term or third term divided by second term, defining how they change, the difference between them. N is the answer you're looking for. So if I say find the 15th term, that's n. And then a sub n is the answer. So if I said find the 15th term, you would say a sub 15 equals, okay? So first part is write the equation for the nth term. So you're one of two ways. You're given a sequence, 0.5, comma 2, comma 8, comma 32, comma dot, 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 right? So from here we go, 2 divided by 0.5 or 1/2 is 4. So I wrote it down. A sub 1 is 1/2. Using that information, you literally plug it into the equation and you're done. A sub n equals 0.05 times 4 to the n minus 1, because you leave a sub n and n always as a question mark because it's an equation that always changes. So literally it's that easy. The other form is like number 2. A sub 4 equals 5 and r equals 6. So this one, you don't have an answer or anything. It says a sub 4 equals 5. That means n equals 5. That means you don't know what a sub 1 is, and you have to have a sub 1 in the original equation, so you have to do a little bit of work. So we need to find a sub 1 by using this information. So the answer for n when it's 4 is 5. So we put 5 into the equation, equals a sub 1, because we have no idea what that is, equals 6, because that's our r, to the 4 minus 1. We know 4 minus 1 is 3. So we need to do this math. So 5 equals a sub 1 times 6 to the third, because 4 minus 1 is 3, right? So then you divide it. A sub 1 is times 6 to the third, so divide both sides by 6 to the third. Well, 5 divided by 6 to the third is 5 over 216. It's a decimal, but it's an ugly decimal. We just leave it as a fraction. If it's not pretty, leave it as a fraction. Don't round and then get it wrong. So 5 over 216 is a sub 1, so then I just pick that number up, put it in the general equation, put r there. You should always have a sub 1 and r in your answers. Everything else should have n's in it, and you just leave it there. Done. 3 and 4, I didn't highlight 4, are just like those two for you to try your own, see if you can make the equations. The answers are highlighted in green. Should be pretty easy. Next is geometric mean, okay? Geometric mean, what it means is to find numbers that are missing in a sequence, okay? This is how you do it. So find the 3 geometric means between 2 and 1250. Okay, so if you're trying to find 3 numbers between that, right? And I wrote it out 2, comma 1, 2, 3 blanks, comma that. That means there's 5 terms, yes? So that means 2 is n sub 1 and 1250 is n sub 5. So you use that idea of 1250 being the answer for n sub 5 to find your ratio, because you have no idea how you get from one term to the other, and that's what you do to find all those answers. So we have to find r. It's our big goal. So we use our formula. We have a sub n equals a sub 1 r to the n minus 1. But instead, we have a sub 1, right? We have the answer for when n's a specific number, so we can plug all those numbers in to the equation. So 1250 equals 2 times, we don't know what r is, to the 5 minus 1, because we have all those numbers. So 250 equals 2 times r to the 5 minus 1. So 250 equals 2 times r to the 4th. Divide both sides by 2. Then you divide that, you get 625 equals r to the 4th. We'll take the 4th root. Anything to an even power root has 2 answers, right? So 2, like the square root, the 4th root, the 6th root, they all have an even, like you always get plus or minus as an answer. Now if it's odd, it's always just the positive answer. Okay, so the 4th root of 625 is plus or minus 5. Okay, so since there's plus or minus 5, that means I'm multiplying by 5 or adding, or multiplying by positive or negative 5. That means my answers are technically There's two different kinds. So if R was positive 5, it would be 2 times 2, then 10, then 50, then 250, then 1250. If it was negative 5, then 2, then negative 10, then positive. So the numbers are the same, the signs will be different. Okay? So when you take a root that's even, you will technically have two different types of answers. Just saying. Okay? Here's another example here. Find 4 geometric means between 0.5 and 215. Okay? That means, look, a sub 1 is 0.5. Got that from the thing. R, we don't know. We're trying to find it out. N is 6 because there's 4 here and they gave us 2. If you can count 4 plus 2, that's 6. A sub n, which is really a sub 6, right, is 215. Take all those numbers, plug them into the equation to solve for R. You'll only get one answer because when you take the root, it'll be to the 5th power. That means you only get positive answers. And that is this, it'll be R equals your answer, right? Pretty sure it's 4. And then you'll go from there. Okay? I have to flip the page. Make sure you can see it. Oh, okay. Now, next is geometric series. We use geometric series to find the sum of all of the, like a group of a sequence basically together, okay? Now there's 2 of these. It depends on what they give you. If they give you the first term in n, this is the equation. Okay? It's S sub n, that's just a series answer. It's a sub 1 minus a sub 1 times r to the n all over 1 minus r. If they give you the first term in the a sub n, so the answer for that n subterm, it's S sub n equals a sub 1 minus a sub n times r all over 1 minus r. So the only real difference is that second part of the top of the fraction. That's the only part that's different. The rest of it's the same, okay? So first example, you have a sub 1 is 2, n is 10, r is 3. So since you have a sub 1 and n, you're going to use the first equation. You do need to know these. All you got to do is plug those numbers in. The only important thing you have to remember, and this should not be something I have to say, but I'm just going to say it anyway, is remember, do the top first. And if you plug it in with a parentheses, you can type it in your calculator. Do the top first, do the bottom separately, and then divide them lastly. So you see how I did this slowly and I simplified it. I simplified the subtraction, then did this, simplified that to its ugly number, simplified it to a number, then divided. Okay? Second one, a sub 1, a sub n, r. They have to give you r. Okay? Right now anyway. So then take those. That's the second equation. I wrote equation 2. Plug it in. Simplify the top. Simplify the bottom. Yes, sometimes there's fractions. You'll get the answer. Now, sometimes you'll get sigma, okay? That's what it's called. Now, sigma is this E-looking thing right here, okay? Now, sum in sigma, that means you're given this form, and we're going to figure out which of these equations to use and how to use it. So, this is what it looks like. It says sigma from k equals 3 to 10 is 4 times 2 to the k minus 1. So, k is 3. That's where we start. We start at 3 and go to 10. So, that means we need to find, we're going this way, by the way. So k equals 3. So our starting point, we're trying to find a sub 1. We always need a sub 1 for both those equations. A sub 1 equals 4 times 2 to the 3 minus 1. We're actually taking this formula and plugging in the lowest k value to find our answer. So that means a sub 1 is 16. There's the math. So I wrote it down so I could see it better without having to look at all of that. Okay, next, n. I always look for n next. N is the distance from here to here, but you have to remember that when you count numbers, right, normally you go, you don't start at 0, right? You go 1, 2. You don't include 0 in your counting. So if you're going from 3 to 10, but you have to include that number, so you do 10 minus 3 plus 1. So you take the difference from 10 to 3, but you have to count the fact that you're counting 3 as one of those numbers. So really, it's 10 minus 2, but it's 10 minus 3 plus 1, so n equals 8. I wrote that down. And then r is literally always this number. It's in the same spot. If you remember on the last page, I'll flip it over and look at it real quick. R is always the thing that has the power. It's still true on this side. R is always the thing that has the power, so r is 2. So we have A1 is 16, r was already given to us, and then we did basic addition and subtraction to find the number. Now, we have a sub 1, n, and r. That means we have to use the first equation. we'll always use the first equation, okay? So take those numbers, plug it in to the equation, see if you get the same answer as I do. Next one is the same thing, and I didn't do the work for you, right? This one does have a sub 1 as a decimal. You start at 4 and go to 12. It's 1/4 times 3 to the k minus 1. Remember, plug in 4 in for k, find a sub 1, it's 6.75. It's not pretty, but it does stop at least for you. So that's a pretty decimal. Then r is always 3. It's just right there for you because it's the thing with the power on it. 12 minus 4 plus 1 is 9. Plug those numbers in. You get that ugly. Technically, there should be a comma right there. You get that ugly big guy right there. Okay? Now, using that same formula, there are some points when you're not finding S sub n. You already have S sub n. You maybe have to find something else. So that's something, and there's this example right here. So this one says find a sub 1. That means we do not have a sub 1, which sucks because, right, a sub 1's in the equations multiple times. So it says S sub n equals 13,116, n is 7, r is 3. So since it has n in it, we're still having to use the first equation, okay? So I plug it in, 13, 11, 16. Okay, and then a sub 1 minus a sub 1, 3 to the 7th, all over 1 minus 3. So first thing you do, simplify the denominator. So that's what I did. Simplify the denominator. Then I go, I need to get rid of that thing. So it says all divided by -2. So multiply both sides by -2. Then we're right here and go, these both have a sub 1. You have to go back to your basic math skills. These both have them. How can I turn it into one of them? You pull out a GCF, you think, oh, they both have them. Pull out a GCF. So then look, it looks like this. A sub 1, parentheses, 1 minus 3 to the 7th. Well, that's a number. It's not a pretty number, but it's a number. And I wrote GCF right there. So then you take this -26232 and divide it by 1 minus 3 to the 7th. And I wrote 1 minus 3 to the 7th in there because on my calculator, instead of doing the division and it being some crazy, ugly, negative number, I just took my big negative S sub n, and then I literally divided it by, in parentheses, 1 minus 3 to the 7th, so I didn't have to work about it. Just make sure you put in your parentheses and your exponents correctly. A sub 1 equals 12. Okay, so just pay attention to what you're doing. It's all basic math skills. Once you find the right numbers, which they already gave them to you, you just have to use your basic math skills. There's nothing new in this problem other than the formula. But other than that, it's all relatively the same, things you've already learned.